Hey, another elder millennial has joined us. That's great. So I don't think I'm going to get a second call from Amazon, which is perfect, which means we can get into some of this stuff, which is good. So I wanted to start. My whole setup is a huge mess. You can't see just outside of here. At some point, I'm actually gonna be moving soon, and I think you might be able to see the silver play button is not put up on the wall because that's how soon I'm moving. And I'm gonna try to make my setup actually work. I might even do a video and try and get a bunch of free stuff out of brands, because why not? Them's the perks. But I really need a better setup in the next place. So if I'm fiddling around, that's part of being not prepared. So, but I did want to share this that I didn't get to last stream when I think I had a USB brick blow up, and it killed the stream. I think I had just opened this, and the stream just ended. So I think I'm going to try and pick up from there. And this is kind of something that I talked about in the beginning of the video, was the pre-digital strip art, definitely demonetized, clip art era. And this was an invaluable resource. So this guy, Bart, actually I can go back, Bart Solenthaler, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. He apparently rescued most of this stuff from the New York Times, actually. Apparently the New York Times had subscriptions to all of these clip books from Volk, and they were going to be thrown out. There's a bit of the backstory available actually on fonts in use when they talk about the Volk clip books, I think. But he rescued them from the dumpster, kept them from being thrown out. And the collection that he has is kind of amazing. There is just this real kind of Mad Men era stuff. And I think the kind of, I wish there was actually a bit more, because he's mostly scanned the covers of these clip books. But what's happened is that he's scanned most of the covers, and then there's one album with the interiors and some kind of pieces that were already clipped, and we're looking at that. And so they were these 8-page booklets, mostly, from what I can gather. They might have added more pages in later editions, but they were just illustrations on a page. You'd cut them out, you'd stick them into a layout, and that was the deal. But the illustration quality is just kind of quite cool. And another guy I mentioned in the video, who is kind of a prolific creator of some of this stuff, was a guy who professionally went by Tom Sawyer. He had an unpronounceable surname starting with S, and so he just changed it to Sawyer, and then got a bunch of jokes about Huckleberry Finn. But he was one of the leading illustrators of this. I'm trying to see if I can get to one of his ones, but this I want to try and go back to some of the other collections. How can I get there? Go back to... So Tom Sawyer, he's quite an interesting fellow as well, because he ended up quitting illustration after a while and becoming a screenwriter. And he wrote for Murder, She Wrote, starring Angela Lansbury. He became the showrunner of Murder, She Wrote. And I think he broke into Hollywood with quite a racy B movie that he wrote, and I don't know if he directed it, but he definitely wrote this very it's all on his website. You can look up The Real Tom Sawyer or Tom B. Sawyer. Fascinating stuff. But what do I want to look for? Like winter sports is one of them, I know. So he did a lot of these sports ones, for example. This is one that I showed. I think that the kind of poses he catches are really quite dynamic for the most part, because it's a difficult thing to catch in an illustration, the kind of motion of sports. But I think there was some here, like this one. I mean, just the quality of the drawing is great. Hello, hello, people who have just joined me. I'm going to turn back to the chat. Sorry, I've been ignoring the chat a little bit. I'm a little bit out of sync. It would be great for collaging. This kind of art would be. And black bars. Okay. We're troubleshooting some of the video quality, but that's okay. Hopefully that's getting sorted out. Thanks, Rustage. Appreciate that. And we have a lot of... There we go. This is the way to get back to some of the covers. So you can see in some of these, he's got some albums by year. And you can see just the variety of different topics, each of these books. So they would send them out. You would subscribe if you were like a small ad agency or a publication, and you would get all of this on a, I'm not sure if it was a monthly basis or more frequently than that. I haven't counted them out. I think there's more than 12 per year. This looks like it might be a Tom Sawyer one there. But executives are like... you can also tell kind of what year it was by how things are depicted. And this is kind of what I get into a little bit at the end, is that clip art is kind of reflective of social values of the time. Like, for example, the fact that this executive board is all old white dudes. and I don't think necessarily that board of directors and executives are not old white dudes now, but I think we do a little bit more paying lip service to diversity when we have illustration. You know, whether that's reflected in real diversity in reality is another thing. That's a whole topic, and I don't think my channels want to talk about that one. But yeah, I think it is really reflective of the kind of thing of like, oh yeah, you know, medicine, yeah, another quite dynamic poses actually. And this is the thing, is that I don't know if they were the first ones to use the term clipbook, but they were definitely quite a big like force in the industry. And in the memoir of this guy, Tom Sawyer, he talks about seeing his art all around, even internationally, but definitely all around America, because it was just so popular and influential. So that definitely had a big part in popularizing the term clip art, because they were used to be called cuts or spot illustrations. I mean, they're still called spot illustrations when they're not ready-made. But yeah, the term clip art kind of originates out of this world of print and publishing. And is somebody's name like an emoticon? Because I'm seeing like at this like string of hexadecimal numbers. But yeah, I think there is some fun stuff in here. And like this style, like you don't see this kind of style anymore. The stylistic choices of, you know, these dotted lines, like no one would do that now. So it's kitschy, but it's very of its era. But some of it actually feels quite timeless. But I mean, he talked about actually the being kind of the Norman Rockwell of line drawing. And this was the thing, is all of this stuff was black and white. And I think when it moved to color, this guy dropped out. I think Volk was only ever black and white. I know that they were sold to another company. I just want the fox emoji, but YouTube. Aha, I see. Okay. So you're the fox. And that's it reminds me of Richard Williams. I that's not a name I'm familiar with. I should look up Richard Williams, definitely. But these ones were this is like 64. Here we go. This is like the massive ones. Women, the home. I mean, that's amazing. Like the dinner the dinner party in 1955. Check out the leopard print leggings. That's amazing. This looks like it's like Lucille Ball or something. I mean, that's a dynamic outfit if I've ever seen one. Definitely the only one that used this typeface for Clipbook of Line Art. Wow. We didn't include this, but there's definitely some racist caricatures in here. Well, at least, the Inuit or Alaskan. That's probably the least flattering one. But this is 1955. You got to brace yourself for a little bit of unexpected stereotyping. Sorry, should have put a content warning at the beginning. So I had an alternate thumbnail where I kind of had a piece of clip art from each of these eras, including like this pre-digital one. And I was trying to find what's a subject that all of them have covered in some way, and I picked the receptionist as kind of the go-to, because there's always a different interpretation over time. But it was just a little bit too much detail for a thumbnail, and hopefully you guys liked the thumbnail enough to click it and watch that one. But I think it just had to be simplified a bit. But another great one, another kind of classic, sales presentations that were made before there was digital projectors. So I'm not sure exactly what would they. I was like looking for footage for this whole section about projectors and how that changed, and it seemed like there was like an era when people would bring like a flip book, like a chart, and like page over as they go through. And I think there's like, I think maybe Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin, where somebody's like standing with one of these flip books presenting to him, or they like print out on foam core boards and shuffle those. Very rarely would they seem to use overhead projectors for sales pitches or boardroom pitches. So yeah, I mean, you'd have to go to a bureau and get slides made. There was kind of this strange transition period when there was not digital projectors, but there was PowerPoint, and then Microsoft integrated a way that you could send off your PowerPoint file, or I guess I don't know how it worked. Did you send them a floppy disk? I'd love to know from someone who was there at the time how this worked, but there was dynamic graphics, or there was someone who was an official partner of Microsoft for turning your PowerPoint into film slides. And because you couldn't project it otherwise. So that would have been fascinating. I couldn't find a way of someone talking to me. I didn't have many interviews on this one. Overhead projectors. Oh, okay. Caitlin, that's cool. I mean, I definitely remember overhead projectors from school. You remember preparing overhead projector presentation? Yeah, they were. And I remember, you could print the transparencies from the printer, or sometimes some teachers would just draw on with a whiteboard marker onto a transparency. But that was, there was this period when we had digital presentation software and no way to actually present except on a computer monitor digitally. And I think that was the problem with the ExecuVision, which was the first. I mean, I put in the thumbnail, it was clip art from 1984, but I mean, the first digital clip art was 1983, but it was kind of a footnote. I mean, it's going to be in all of the Wikipedia articles and stuff that it was 1983, the ExecuVision, but it was a limited, pretty niche kind of thing, a dead end, so to say, because it was on the IBM PC. It was really expensive, $90 in 1983 dollars per floppy disk of like 15, 20, 25. Doesn't matter. Quite a low number of images. And then you had nowhere to actually project it. You just have to sit someone in front of your like ancient IBM terminal and show them this presentation. And I mean, who was it made for? Like, who? I'd love to see like who actually sat and was shown a presentation made in ExecuVision. That's a weird one. So, but I mean, I'd love to have explored more, but it was late 80s monochrome LCD things you could put an overhead projector. Okay, that's interesting. So yeah, ExecuVision was 8-bit color. So I don't know how they could have got it out, like printed it on a dot matrix printer onto a transparency. I just don't understand. I think there's just too much friction involved in the process. The workflow wasn't there. But the thing with the Mac is it was, it was a whole ecosystem and all of the pieces were there, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in the video. Was that I think the real start of commercial clip art anyway was with the Macintosh. We got a question in chat. Interested in viewing country and city flags? Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to encroach on Roman Mars's territory. I deliberately don't listen to 99% Invisible anymore in case I hear something that I then go, oh, I wish I'd made a video on that. I have some plausible deniability. But vexillology is its own, and heraldry. I've done too many videos touching on heraldry when it's its own separate nerd, niche where people actually know stuff about it, and I'm not going to educate myself to that degree on vexillology or heraldry. So I think I'll leave Roman Mars to be the guy who critiques flags. But yeah, I think I have to put all of my links into the video description. There was a bit of a rush to try and get this. I wanted to get this done today. It's been put off. It's taken a long time, so I did not give the proper footnotes. But you can easily find this by searching for Volk Clip Books Bart, actually, and the Flickr albums will come up. But they're really quite cool. And then, yeah, this one was great. Here we got more transparent in a Xerox machine. Yep. So I wanted to also go through just a few other weird odds and ends and things that came up. And this was a really interesting one. There was if I can get it to open, there we go. There was this. Also, could not find enough info to really make it, to talk about it. Let's see. This guy was also quite famous in the era of cuts. I think he's the artist behind Ripley's Believe It or Not. But he was a really popular artist with a series of cuts for publishers back in the pre-digital age. And this guy's name was cartoonist from Reno, Lou Heimers. So he was a cartoonist. Clip art is always inferior to word art. Well, I mean, somebody had to say it. Right? Thank you. It's I hope that the sponsors aren't too intrusive on the videos. I should thank Envato for being really patient with this one, because I was meant to publish it like December or January at least, and things just happen, especially when you're a parent, and I have to look for sponsors who can accommodate that. But I try only to take sponsors which I think will fit the topic I plan to talk about. I try not to shoehorn in random sponsorship. So there's the VCN Execuvision one there, and or were you talking about? You were talking about the sponsor of Milanote. I think I just put that together. I mean, I use them. I genuinely use them. Thank you. The commissions for magazines. Yeah, there were. I mean, there was a lot of work for illustrators back in those days. We just don't see that much illustration anymore. The Milanote, I do actually find it really useful. I use a mix of Notion and Milanote and a lot of different tools, but Milanote is really good at a glance for seeing all of this stuff laid out. This is actually an early draft of the script. I completely rewrote this script. I wrote a full one and then started again, restructuring it because it was just becoming too much of a like this happened, then this happened, then this happened. I think it needed some thought about like why things happened, and hopefully that came through. But yeah, there was a lot of. I mean, I really like those Run and Joe clips. I mean, I didn't touch on that either. Someone brought up generative AI, and I almost put some in, but it was really not pertinent to the topic so much about the future. I mean, there's whole videos I've done on generative AI, and we're seeing things move very quickly, but it's gonna it already kind of does that spot illustration work sometimes. But yeah, I find those ones good. Ready to use. This one's another one that I didn't get to was Dover illustrations. So here we can actually see, I think there was another one that they had where they used both clip art series in the title and then said ready to use cuts on the front. But Dover were a really interesting one because they had a special niche, which was, I guess I can borrow it, taking public domain stuff and collecting it into a book. And so they didn't even commission illustrators. They just, I don't know where they got these, but they were all public domain when they published these. I guess they must have done some cleanup to them, but they might even be illustrations from old books or who knows where. I mean, some of the illustrations are really nice, but you can see there's a real mix. That's some medieval looking stuff there. These guys look like, off the back of a playing card or something. And this is clearly quite a few centuries removed from that. But Dover had a smart grift going. Not a grift, but what's also nice here, you can see where somebody actually clipped out the clip art before this was scanned. So that's fun. Oh, thanks. I'm glad that somebody enjoyed the Yakuza video as well. That one, I hope more people find it. It's sad that it's the least watched video on the channel. But I guess some video has to be it. But I really like that series. I've kind of played. There's a new Yakuza series, new Yakuza title out, I think, and I really wanted to drop everything and play it, but I will reward myself with playing that when I have renovated and moved into an apartment, because I can't afford the distraction. Along with making videos and stuff. So, but I'd love to do more stuff with video games. And actually, the next video I'm working on is about handwriting, and a big inspiration from that was actually how handwriting was used to kind of build the world in Red Dead Redemption 2. You find all of these letters from different characters, and how they write says a lot about their, socioeconomic background, and this kind of stuff. Amazing attention to detail, and I just wish it was easier to get in contact with someone in the art department there who would actually talk to me, because I'd love to talk to whoever was in charge of doing all of those period accurate handwriting samples, which would be fascinating, but that's a long shot. Oh, thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed the cocktail book. Yeah, it's a fun and accessible book, hopefully for home bartenders if you want to check that out. So thanks, Sheer Adrenaline. Love watching your videos when you go in depth. Oh, cheers. I'm glad when that you still enjoy design enough after finishing uni Agavolution that you still enjoy watching the content. Oh, hang on, I can no. Is that how I can actually highlight? I need to do more streaming so I get better at streaming. I think this is the thing. Some things you only get better at when you do them. And I have not done enough streaming to figure out how to do this well. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to return this book now so some of you can enjoy these. That's an ill-fitting top. I'm going to return these. So actually the reason there are blank pages alternately is also because when you actually cut them out, you wouldn't want to cut through the middle of a drawing on the reverse. Makes sense. Someone else can borrow that and enjoy it. But what else did we have in here? This was Scratchboard, which is an interesting medium I learned about. There was quite like a whole rabbit hole I could have gone down about projectors, and I think that was why I rewrote it, was because I was focusing too much on the actually Trader Joe's Muke 01. Trader Joe's does use a lot of Victorian clip art in their stuff, but they're notoriously also closed, tight-lipped about their kind of creative process and stuff, but they also do a lot of hand lettering still, and I think that's fascinating, but it would be a real stretch to get somebody there to talk to me for a video. But that would have been a fascinating one to do too. Lots of rabbit holes. I think we're getting into the later stage. Somebody asked me about this, the Global Village Coffee House, and I did look at this. In fact, and to some degree, there's like all these names for these different historical aesthetic movements. There's CARI, which is CARI, Consumer Aesthetic Research Institute. It's not really an institute, it's like a webpage. But they've given names, cute names. I think it started as Facebook groups or something. They've given cute names to these like different styles from the past. And this is a popular one. I think they've called them... Actually, do I have CARI? Yeah. I think that they have done a search by end of popularity. Yes, so we're working our way. Memphis Junior. I think Contemporary Grunge, Global Village Coffee House, and Eco Beige. This is a fascinating website to look at. There's also, I'm sorry, Henry, who is a patron, has a Discord that I will look up in another window so that I can share that also with you guys. Because that is also a fun place to go if you like talking about this kind of stuff. But these are quite... They're fun, but I don't think that they're academically rigorous. These are... And I think if you treat them as a bit of fun, then that's cool. But there's definitely like a backronym. There should be kind of... and there was like a few things in the US with some of the acts introduced to Congress or something that was like restrict, and like it was a backronym that started with restrict in the acronym that was RESTRICT. You're just like, oh, that's painful. But it feels a bit like that. It's like you start with the look and then you work backwards and cherry pick examples to make up this style that didn't exist when it happened. But the Global Village Coffee House stuff, like, does this typeface really belong with Global Village Coffee House? I don't know. I don't know that it does. But yeah, definitely some of the clip art. Oh my, I forgot about Fruitopia. I totally forgot about Fruitopia. I am going to make sure I plug that Discord if I can remember it. But yeah, it was interesting to see, like, there's not really a name for the aesthetic, the Madman aesthetic of those earlier clip books in here, right? The end of popularity. There's just kind of these 60s, 70s ones. There's nothing really from the 50s. I guess mid-century all kind of blends together, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. I kind of did that cop-out as well and used the term mid-century when I wanted to cherry-pick some examples from different, the 40s and the 50s. But I guess there wasn't as much changing in faddish styles around that time. So, yeah, there we go. Designtropes.org is the Discord. So you can check that out as well if you're interested in these kind of things. So, lots of fun there. But I thought we could actually dive into some of the back catalog of the Microsoft clip-on, because I was sent by someone. Thomas was a viewer and someone on Twitter who shared with me an enormous back catalog of clip art they had saved before Microsoft shut down the clip art service, and it was just a huge help in putting this together. So big thank you to Thomas. So these ones are the screen beans. Does everyone recognize? I think everyone recognizes these, and I was at one point thinking about using them in the thumbnail, but they are not the most appealing. I mean, they're recognizable, but they're not. I think maybe would you get it? Would give me a thumbs up in chat if you would think about getting a tattoo of a screen bean guy. I think that would be kind of if I was like someone who was into those ironic tattoos. That would be a fun one to do. It's a screen bean. But they're not the prettiest. But the thing about these like Microsoft clip art is like they were never seen this high res as this in the actual back in the day, because they were all these tiny, CRT displays, 800 by 600 pixels. But there's some like really like fairly nice pieces in here with a lot more detail than you really need. Like there's a whole travel series of just were kind of iconic travel scenes but rendered as clip art. I mean, there's a whole one about ethnic minorities and people groups from around the world. Some of these are kind of quite striking. But like, if you didn't know they were from clip art, they're very well crafted and they're completely anonymous. No idea who put these together. And it's almost impossible to find out. Like the one person I found out was that Screen Beans artist, who's now, a gray-haired musician, folk musician, but she was, working for Microsoft at the time they made these, and she's out there as having been a clip art artist, but there's barely any information on who else it was. But you can start to see like some common some commonalities in the artistic approach or the production approach that make you think that there's definitely one artist I want to talk about who was really quite prolific. And yeah, this is a lot of effort to go to make all of this clip art. These were all like these weren't auto traced. These were manually, they were traced, but they were manually traced. And I mean, how much use case was it? It wasn't purely ruthless capitalism dictating what was included in the collection, because, you know, how many times would be like weaving a fur pelt, you know, yurt cover or something be used compared to, you know, the guy with a question mark over his head? Not that many, but there was clearly some ways it was quite ahead of its time in the breadth of its the collection, and it's all gone now, completely unindexed. There's like a full unsorted pool of all of these loose files from the servers, but all of the metadata is gone. All the stuff is gone. Am I using the default Ventura wallpaper? Yes, I am. It's shocking. I have not got around to customizing my wallpaper. Some exec put an asset and creative team. My other thought, sure, Adrenaline. I think that's an interesting question about it, but so I'm going to quickly answer Caitlin's question about Bridge. I'm using Adobe Bridge because my Finder is a huge mess, and this is the quickest way, actually. These were all PDFs. I had to convert all of these from like 600-page PowerPoint files into PDFs, and then extract all the PDFs into single-page PDFs, and the quickest way to browse through them was Bridge. I don't love Bridge, but there you go. But like the reason why the collection was so vast, I think there's another element which I couldn't explore in the video, which was Bill Gates also owned Corbis, which were a huge stock photography and stock asset company, or had a big stake in it anyway. And they were the big competitor to Getty Images, which is now the biggest player. So I wonder if some of this was facilitated through Corbis, but none of that's on record anywhere. Also, I didn't want to mention Bill Gates because the conspiracy nuts, yeah. But he was really big involved in Microsoft at the time, and also in Corbis. So I wonder if that was part of why the collection was as expansive as it was. And this is where I kind of talked about not all of the collections are as high quality as the others, but there's a lot of detail in these that you would never have seen on screen, and maybe if you printed it out really big. But like, there's a lot of these like shaded styles. I'm gonna have to like skim through whole sections. See, Bliss. Yeah, the Bliss wallpaper, for example. Yeah, from XP, Windows XP. The original image was from Corbis. That's right. Or from there, they licensed it. Bill Gates used clipart control. That's right. This is before microchips and 5G. Bill Gates was controlling our minds with clipart. I mean, I find that these like travel ones quite striking. I'm gonna have to like skim through whole sections because there is like so many. There is like, I got like 12 files that were like 600 pages each with 4 pieces on each. It's a huge collection. I didn't get to include this guy, but this is like there's something quite charming about this guy. There's like a whole series of him. It appears a bit later on as well. Overset. Thank you very much. Thank you, Overset Text. And Tyler, welcome people joining the stream. But this guy, like, he's clearly inspired by some constructivist illustration, especially when you see him with a cog. It's got such a 90s feel to it with that little background strip of color as well, and the little offset plank he's standing on with his. There's something super 90s, super graphic about this. I really like this series, and I think there might be a lady version as well for some of them, but he's in different poses, different occupations, all this kind of stuff. This archive is not public. I wouldn't know where to share it, but there is Job, maybe, from Arrested Development. There is a huge mega dump of Microsoft clipart files on the Internet Archive that are also just loose. These are all vector, yes. These are all vector. And this is like the shocking thing. Like these are really, well executed. That cap is out of place, but this artist, he's the guy who did the little owl that everyone remembers, that owl with the glasses. But he did a number. I'm assuming maybe a she, or maybe, I don't know how they identify these days. But this artist, they made a lot of different pieces, and the classic owl with glasses, and one of my other favorite series in this collection of like little teardrop shaped people with enormous phones and folders. It's amazing. I have to show you that in a little bit, but it's further down this scroll. But yeah, there's an entire Van Gogh style series here as well, which is really interesting. I don't know, like that, the amount of time it must have taken to do those. So look, want to be emojis. Yeah, again, I guess that's a good point. There was no emojis at this point, so a lot of clip art. There are more simple simple pieces, and that, is that I don't know if that's which cathedral that is. It might be I'm maybe outing myself as a uneducated Philistine, but I think it's one of the ones in Paris. I'm gonna hedge my bets and not say. But that, like, can I? I just want to actually open it full screen. But the amount of time it took to it must have taken to do these is kind of astounding for the number of assets in there. Like, that's this stained glass window in the center. This looks like it is all hand traced, not auto traced. Because if it was auto traced, they would all be slightly, they'll all be slightly curved with bad anchor points and stuff. This looks like someone went click, 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 click. I mean, it's not perfect at all, but it definitely shows it was manual work. And all these little people, all the little shadows under their chins. I mean, it must have taken someone hours to make this one piece. Crazy. And like the cartoony ones are not bad. I like these ones anyway. The cartoony ones, they're quite charming. And I think this is the reason I wanted to make this video. I like the anti-heroes of design. I like defending the stuff that people dismiss, because I think it's more interesting than it gets credit for oftentimes. So, yeah, what we got? I mean, these aren't quite cubist, but there's something almost reminiscent of cubism in these intersecting like colored styles. The musical instrument section. I mean, I'm showing you the good stuff as well. I'm going to stop and do catching up a little bit on the chat because it is Notre Dame. Somebody else said it. I almost said Sacré-Cœur. Low enough. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess that was the downside of this really detailed clip art, is it was not the most easy on those really old systems. early web graphics. Yeah, there were those like animated GIFs of like under construction and all that kind of stuff. That could be a whole thing. I think my wife wants me to talk about animated cursors from GeoCities. Like there's an obscure one. At some point, I might humor her with that. But like, yeah, you can see there's so much craft in a lot of these. Some of them less so, but a lot of them, it was very, very well done. Again, this series as well. This equally as the other one. I mean, this is this looks auto traced, just with straight edges, not curves. But somebody drew all of these, and then scanned them in. But these are quite good, and the way they've kind of simplified the details enough where you can still recognize these landmarks. It takes a lot of skill. A stealth bomber. Was that a stealth bomber earlier? I think it might have been. The animated GIF curses. We got another +1 for animated GIF curses. Yeah, that's something that has disappeared. I mean, there's a lot of ones from locales, which is another piece of the puzzle that makes me suspect that Corbus had something to do with it. How do I make my magnifying glass disappear? Who's like an Adobe Bridge person? There we go. Yeah, it's just yeah, like there's a little bit of fill, like, but there's just not that much filler. And what I'm not showing you is some of the appalling quality of the clip art CDs that were out there. There's a bunch available as like ISO images on Internet Archive, which I downloaded, went through. There was pretty slim pickings in terms of quality there, and a lot of them were the same images, like just with different names. So there is, yeah, they really were a cut above everybody else. I mean, Corel had a decent standard of quality, but nowhere near this. Nowhere near this. Yeah, there's like weapons. There's a no, that's not a weapon. That's a hang glider, but that's definitely a weapon. There's a real mix of topics. It's again, this was not how it was intended to be. Someone wants to see you want to see the garbage. Let me see if I can, because I'm gonna have to like scroll through weird folders, and I could possibly show you some garbage for funsies. But I'm gonna quickly cut to, because there's no way I'm gonna be able to cover all of the interesting stuff in this collection. But I want to show you guys this one artist. Okay, this is one of his series, and there's like some of the ones that are office centric have got quite a dark tone to them when you actually look. Yeah, there's like the guy, he's in money jail. But that's one by this artist, unknown artist. That's one of the series. The other series, there's two other series. I mean, this was a prolific series, and I think there's a name for it, but I don't know what it was. This is not the same artist. But man, that's a silly one. It's a silly one, and it would definitely not have taken hours to produce all of those different ones. We're all in money jail now. That's right. I'm in money jail. Let's see. There's a few different ones. This was the artist behind our favorite owl, if I can find him. Like that's my like most nostalgic piece of clip art, is the owl with the glasses. I think I have to scroll because like you can see how much stuff is there. Oh, did I spot something? There's a quality to the line work that is very recognizable. I mean, these were there's very distinctly different artists behind different series. What's the ones I don't like? If I see any of those, I'll point those out. I'm not a big fan actually of this. This is like the Bratz dolls of Microsoft Clip Art. Is this? I don't know who thinks this is a good way to proportion a human face. Why? Why this one? I mean, but it's not like terrible compared to some of the junk. It's just unappealing. It's just they look like their head was like sucked out of a space station window or something. And there's something definitely wrong with their anatomy. But the tennis racket looks good. That's probably one of those 3D-ifying glossy style. Yeah, the one hits it most of the time is the one with the big nose and moustache. I mean, it's funny the different ones that I think it depends on what version of Office maybe you can. This one I want to show is like there's a whole series about crime. There's the suspect being shielded from the press. This is like, I don't know, the lawyer with the contract. But there's like a whole series. The cops with the negotiating, like with the guy, the hostage. It's crazy. Like who used this? Who used this series? Was this exclusively for the use of, I guess lawyers or like, I don't know, hostage negotiators? I need my clip art. That is like a niche use case, but I mean, I guess the law. Oh, there's breaking and entering. The body bag, discovering the body, discovering the body. Oh, it's and then the neighbor. That must be the witness. I hope that they had the continuity to like interviewing the witness and they're wearing the same outfit as in the window. That would be amazing. But I still haven't found my guy that I'm looking for with the owl. Oh, these ones are very, Global Village Coffee House or something. These are super 90s. But I mean, nicely composed and very well drawn. But it's just like this illustration style. I don't know where you would see it these days, apart from like some kind of body wash, like all natural, something shimmery, wearing linen. I don't know. That's a really strong stylistic choice that you don't see anymore. Yeah. There's a lot of these styles have gone out of favor, and like a lot of the stuff we have now feels very generic, in comparison, and I think that's a shame. And I think that's why it's the biggest shame is that they took it all offline, and there's just no way to search this because like I poured hours into this video, this history of it, and I found it a huge struggle to deal with the massive volume to get through with no way to search it, and there's no way to catalog this stuff now. There's some more of this guy. There's a hedge maze. This is probably just looking like a just compressed mess in the stream. I'm sorry about that. I feel like there's some like very strongly themed mooncakes, and there's like the Chinese and Japanese set as well. Let's see. The lines in central grading felt generic at the time. Yeah, Caitlin, that's a good point. I think that, and hi, JTAM, Brett. Yes, exactly. Brett brings up a point, like the rendering in those times was like on 256 color monitors as well. But there's a lot in that series. where is the... I'm gonna skip down significantly. Yeah, there's some Korean ones in here. There was clearly some international clip art commissioned for different international audiences, because there was one, I think, was it just before the Korea stuff? A lot of Korea stuff. Yeah, these are French ones, and it's like super French. Bon fete, papa. I don't speak French. I don't know, but like, and of course, only French people would find a clown like that, like a symbol of humor. But fromages, of course. So this was clearly produced by a local illustrator for that market as well. Greetings from Sherbenharden. Greetings. Nice for you to join us, Dan. I'm going to have to actually wrap up in about 20 minutes. I'm getting a little tired under the lights. You'll have to excuse me. I'm going to... Yes. I'm going to put up a graphic for a second because where's my... There we go. I'm going to just play this for a second, which is the animations I had. Praise Jankman. That's right. It's a shame I couldn't actually keep these animations up longer on screen, because I commissioned them just for this video. But in the end, I could only kind of flash them up between the different segments. And there may be some more life for them in the future on a second channel. I've already got planned out what my April Fool's video will be on the second channel, but I think this could be like lo-fi beats to lose your passion and sell your soul to, or something like that, as I slowly progress from being in my bedroom on my original 1984 Mac to giving a PowerPoint presentation in the boardroom. I think they were a lot of fun. It was really fun working with an animator on doing these, and I'd love to do more of that kind of stuff in the future. Lots of Easter eggs that I'm not sure if everyone will like, because they were only up for a short time. I'm not sure everyone will spot, but I think a few people saw Jankman on the corner there. Don't know if you saw it, Huey Lewis and the News, as a tribute to the American Psycho video. The cat has got its own story arc between the 4 different sections. The cat starts off here on this. In the next one, he's on my monitor. By the third one, he's in an urn because he's passed away. Yeah, and then the final one, I'm talking about pet insurance that involves bringing the pets back to life. I think that's where we settled on the final one, but it's got a whole arc. It was good fun. But I'm gonna come back to, as you can tell, professional streamer. I'm gonna go back to here. So yeah, I got lost talking about French illustrations. There is. I feel like I might just scroll past it in a flash, but no, I did not. Here is more from this particular illustrator that I. So there's like a post box and some other things. These ones are all like objects. That's not the same guy. This one is. This is the style. There's something about the line work that's very organic brush feeling. These ones. But then, where is the final series? The final series is my favorite one, which is, and this one is where the owl, our owl friend, is as well. But oh, hang on. Yeah, these are also, I think, the same one, same guy. Same, I keep saying guy, but same artist, I believe, is behind these, as is this, this, and then I think that they did these as well. These kind of rotoscoped ones, possibly. There's something about the way that the color and weight works that makes me suspect this. But this is the one that I really like. These ones. I love, there's like a whole series of these little round Hershey's Kiss businessmen and women that are so fun. Like, and it's so of its era. I'm just going to catch up on the chat. The line the cinematic universe is born around that cat. Yeah, maybe. It could be. I could have my own lore for the deep fans. It's very classic clip art. That is. iPad sketching question. When you're done with the pen, do you also try to let go at the maximum distance when the magnets will still work? I don't know. I don't know an answer to that one. I only upgraded my iPad Pro recently, so I don't know if it had that feature when I was using it more often. I haven't had much use since it's got that floating ability. Proto Corporate Memphis, it's yeah, it's not quite Corporate Memphis though. I mean, the thing about Corporate Memphis is there's no line weight. There's no, like, it's all like either completely monoline, as in like the line is all perfect and geometrically even, the same thickness the whole way through, or there's no outlines at all. And I think what gives these their charm is actually the stroke, the quality of the stroke and the line work. Because if you just made them black and white, they would still be charming. And Corporate Memphis does not work in black and white. So I would say disagree on that point. But where is there's more in this series. I think I must have scrolled past it. But I know that I do have some selects from this series in a folder. So I just want to share this with you before I've got to wrap things up. As my parting thoughts on clip art. Open these in Acrobat. Here we go. So these are multiple pages. So, like, they're just quite humorous. Just the scenarios of just like the papers burning up. Some interesting visual metaphors. Sometimes they have legs, sometimes they don't. A lot of interesting choices. Just randomly, someone backpacking. As I said, this is somebody's collecting the Swiss Army knife needed for the folders. Yeah, you get the pen. Crossing the line with like a folder full of documents. How 90s can you get? The dollop shapes are really fun. You just don't see that. I mean, Corporate Memphis, what is true about it is they distort the human figure a lot. So you just get these kind of pin-headed people with like noodle arms, and you get people with very huge distortions. But this is not. I've never seen any kind of corporate illustrations that use this take on the human form. Like, it's the waistband is really high as well. You know, but like we kind of think of folders as this digital thing now, like folders on a computer. And at one point, like in the 90s, 80s and 90s, people still had folders full of papers as part of their like actual work, was working with paperwork. Paperwork was actual paper. And sometimes you forget that. And there's like this just captures kind of the mixed period when there was still, I really like this fishing, this like, it's like almost like a comic strip that's broken up into little clip art pieces. The business lady is baking a cake. Yeah, that's true. She's baking a cake with pie charts and a floppy disk, which is great. And I guess she's injecting the files like they're sick and they need an injection, or yeah. But I love this fly fishing one. He's like fishing and catching the right file. I don't know. He's been taking LSD and reading Alice in Wonderland in this one. There's a whole like knights. There's a surgeon, the file surgeon. There's a whole one with knights as well. Are we getting? Is this the one with the knight? Yeah, that's knight. Whipping the files into shape. It's great. I mean, we still. I'm not saying that people don't, but I think I think now we kind of think of file folders as a digital thing first, the skeuomorphism. But it was just so telling. I think in combination with the pencil and the old, there's one where this is the last one with the most ones from this, but there are, these old phones, and the way that these people are seem so stressed and overwhelmed by the paperwork they have to deal with. I'm assuming they have to actually fax it. By their phone calls coming in off their cell phone with like 16 numbers on it and no SMS. There's something quaint with hindsight. That is amazing as well. This shark one where he's in a red flag instead of a white. I don't know. But then the shark's there, and then they're riding the shark. That one's fantastic. I mean, this is the most charming series of clip art I've seen. I was going to show you the shitty clip art from the other ones. I'm not gonna do that tonight. You'll just have to go find it for yourself. But the different weather, snow, wind, rain, frost. Yeah, can you imagine being terrified by this telephone? There's a flower series. They're not in order. I think you're planting the pie chart and the floppy disk and growing the files. And this is great. There's both the giving a presentation with a projector and giving a flip chart. So it really catches that tone of the era there. Literally drowning in paperwork. Yeah, it's good. Luck of the Irish. I don't know what that one's about. But yeah, that's. I think those are all of the ones that I extracted out at the time. I wish I knew who this artist. I think this is one artist that did these and this and these because of just the quality of the brushwork or line work of the black and white portions. There's something about the weights of the different things going on here that it's just. I don't know if I'll ever get the answer to who it was. But yeah, that's clip art, and I spent like 3-4 months on researching and gathering and editing, and I'm really glad that people seem to have enjoyed the video. Word art will one day become a thing. I'm going to switch to my last camera angle. A very professional streamer. But yeah, I'm at some point going to do word art because I think it's a fascinating subject again for something that's dismissed. There's some really interesting technology that was developed before it became part of Word, and so a lot of those effects were considered really high end at one point. That's going to happen. The next one, hopefully, will be handwriting. I've spoken to an expert on the topic who literally wrote the book on 20th century handwriting. I just had to figure out a way that I can structure it without spending another 4 months on it because I have to move to a new apartment. So that's all in the pipeline. Guinness is good for you. These are all true things. But thanks, everyone, for joining this final clip art stream and for just hanging out and watching me ramble as I browse through ancient clip art. I hope that you have a lovely night and a great week, and I will see you all when the next video or stream drops. All right, take care of yourselves. Bye.